Hey guys, welcome to my delayed review of the third episode of Arrow Season 6. So I apologize for not uploading this video in time, but real life really managed to trump making videos there. Now the third episode of the season, which happens to have been titled Next of Kin, was crazy on developments. There were the developments on the Olicity front, which I know some of you might have loved and some others probably hated. In all cases, this is what we're getting and we gotta find a way to live with it. But I'll be discussing my opinion in detail on this topic in a little bit here. Now without actually insulting each other's tastes or opinions, because everyone is kinda entitled to theirs, and just for the sake of running this simple voting experiment, I'd like to request a one-word answer to the following question. Who do you prefer, Laurel or Felicity? I'll be counting these votes and discussing the results on a separate video if I do get enough responses to this question. Now on this episode as well, we've got Diggle becoming the Green Arrow, seemingly getting better and his tremor being completely gone. But then there was also that big, crushing reveal at the very end. And on a final note, we've got Onyx, who's more a villain of the week kind of antagonist. However though, the sole purpose of her presence on this episode was to build up Diggle as the new Green Arrow, so I'm not really gonna be discussing her much on this video. But let's just speak Arrow Season 6 in general first. So Arrow this season kind of has a bigger story to tell, and we might end up getting filler episodes like this one with one-time villains and nothing connected to the bigger villain names, them being Anatoly, Richard Dragon, Cayden James, and Black Siren. But nonetheless, even fillers are gonna start feeling less like the fillers we're used to from previous seasons. There is most definitely a bigger story there that seems to be featuring heavily on each and every episode. And that is most definitely pretty good, kind of enriches the season and promises the viewers it will be one of the better seasons, if not possibly the best. Now before I get to comment on various aspects of this episode in detail though, let me remind you I've got a $25 Amazon gift card giveaway running across all of my DCTV videos. And all you really need to do to be eligible to win is be a subscriber and drop a relevant comment on one, more, or all of the participating videos. I'll be announcing the winner for said giveaway on the first DCTV video that I upload on or after the 9th of November. Well, let's just get into my usual weekly comments for this episode. Number 1. Alright, so let me get this one out of the way. Now I don't think the Oracle reference on this episode was meant to be a Batman Easter egg that is taken way too seriously. I understand that once again the imaginations of fans are running wild over the possible arrival of Batman into the Arrowverse based on the second episode's name drop. One more time though, I'm gonna be reminding you that was no Batman Easter egg really, but rather just a Bruce Wayne one. Now that Oracle Batman reference on the third episode is from my perspective supposed to be less of a serious kind of Easter egg and more of a light joke. So besides the fact that we've got the Barbara Gordon Oracle from the comics and the name being alluded to in the past in that sense, we've also got the information systems giant Oracle. And with that board having the name Oracle stricken off as a potential name for the company Felicity and Curtis plan on starting together, it does kind of sound funny in a how could Felicity even suggest that to start with kind of way. Whether or not we like Felicity, she's supposed to be smart, a tech guru, and should not even have such a big name suggested. It's simply because Oracle is not just a giant IS company, but also because it is the number 81 company on the Fortune 100 list. So besides this being actually funny in this weird way, it is kind of a bad portrayal of a character who's supposed to be one of the smartest on the team. Number 2. I'll be discussing Olicity in detail in a moment here and how I'd prefer to look at it all. But here's pretty much the shittiest thing the writers did with that on the third episode. So the writers do know a lot of fans hate, dislike, or are indifferent to either Olicity or Felicity or both. And by a lot of fans, I just mean a big number, I don't mean a majority or anything of the sort. None of us will ever know until we actually go out and take count of every single fan. But that, however, is beside the point and not really the problem here. The problem here really is that the writers found it smart to write that entire scene where she flexes her smart muscles before Oliver like he's some sort of a stupid, ignorant, and uneducated shithead. And out of all 118 episodes so far, this was one episode where this was completely unnecessary and unneeded, especially with all of it leading up to their kiss. It just made her sound extremely arrogant and extremely full of herself. Don't get me wrong here, I love education. But with learning, you've also got to learn social cues, and I understand that is not what the writers intended for it to be. But out of all episodes, with the plan to bring Oliver and Felicity together on that episode, and with all the hatred that a lot of fans harbor towards her character, that was like the shittiest decision to make on this episode. I just keep wondering what the writers were thinking there. Number 3. Let's discuss that Olicity kiss and get it out of the way as well. Here's a quick disclaimer. I don't really hate Felicity, but I was never a fan of Olicity either. So here's the thing, I did love Felicity over the course of the first, second, and third seasons. I also did like Laurel over the course of the first season, and even though I don't ship much, I was actually rooting for her and Oliver ending up together then, from a comic book perspective. But then Laurel became an alcoholic, whining and overly dramatic over the course of seasons 2 and 3, which was extremely irritating. So when the Olicity thing happened closer to the end of the third season, it did actually sound like the better option. And then Laurel's character started improving on season 4, so I started liking her again, and then they killed her off. But besides that as well, the writers had to go and make Olicity into some sort of unneeded and unnecessary drama. And they did with that, managed to kill fun Felicity over the course of both seasons 4 and 5. And at different moments on the show, Felicity started becoming either less exciting, not exciting at all, or flat out irritating. As a result, instead of loving the character on my end, I started liking her way less and definitely hating the Olicity concept. Now close to the end of season 5, they started alluding to changes in her character, and then as season 6 started, they slowly made her fun again, which is pretty decent. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about their relationship being more fun this time around and taking less screen time. And whether or not Black Siren is redeemable, and whether or not she's gonna end up with Oliver is still up in the air. But for those who are rooting for that, until we find that out, there's a relationship the show is gonna be building whether we like it or not. So I'd just tell you to look at it like it were a job that you hate, but one that also represents your sole source of income. And when you're stuck with such a job, the prudent course of action is to look at the positive. And in this case, the glass half full approach would have us see that they are taking it way lighter. This season is also taking Felicity back to her being fun roots, so it is possible this is going somewhere good, even if it isn't exactly what we've hoped for. But enough Olicity talk, and let's move on to number 4. That Diggle jump off the roof of a building, followed by the Black Canary scream carrying and pushing him to the roof of the opposite building, that was some good shit right there, even though the landing wasn't really perfect. The action sequences on this episode were generally pretty well done. Overall though, the team was clearly kicking ass without Oliver, which I kind of really liked. And even though there was the bit with Rene going over to Oliver and asking him to come back, they did all sort it out without him having to. Number 5. It is about time to admit that I was wrong on my review of the premiere when I assumed that there is something going on between Diggle and Dinah. It is pretty clear now, they're both pretty close, they could both read one another. And it does make so much sense what she's trying to tell him. I mean, no one is really buying that Diggle is the Green Arrow with him avoiding the usage of arrows like the plague. And even though Diggle does manage by the end of the episode to deal with it all and become Oliver's replacement, there was the crazy moment at the very end. But that brings us to number 6. John Diggle is going down a terrible road. He's basically found a workaround, which is 1, less permanent, 2, less of an actual solution to the problem, and 3, something he's probably gonna be getting addicted to. And I'm seeing it already, this is gonna be a source of a shit ton of drama on Diggle's end, both at home and at work in the Arrow Cave. But all of that, however, is not really all the trouble Diggle is into, because, number 7, Oliver might have evaded Samantha's hunt for him as the Green Arrow, but now instead she thinks he's protecting someone. And her top suspect as of the end of the 3rd episode happens to be John Diggle. So he's probably gonna be in danger of being revealed to the FBI and the public as the Green Arrow for a few more episodes, because number 8, Diggle is gonna be the Green Arrow for at least the total of 4 episodes, if not part of the 5th as well. So we do know Diggle is gonna be the Green Arrow over the course of the 4th episode as per both the trailer and the synopsis released for the episode. We also know episode 5 and 6 will involve Oliver helping Slade find and save his son while the team deals with the usual day-to-day shit back in Star City, with Diggle still being the Green Arrow. A release synopsis for episode 6 as well indicated Richard Dragon will be making his very first appearance on the 6th episode. But the very same synopsis indicated as well he'll be going up against John Diggle as the Green Arrow. But finally, the last part of the puzzle that answers the question of when Oliver will come back to being the Green Arrow. Now in episode 8, which is going to be part of the 4-hour crossover event, Oliver is going to be back to being the Green Arrow. That necessarily means that somewhere between the ending of episode 6 and the beginning of episode 8, something's gonna have to change. Most probably that something is gonna be about Oliver and the team uncovering Diggle's secret and relieving him of his duties as the Green Arrow. But the whole thing with Diggle's current ailment and the solution he went for is gonna be something that I expect will extend over the course of most of the season. But however, that's all I've got on this episode for now. I think it was a pretty good one. I still kind of prefer the 2nd episode this season over the other 2, but nonetheless, a pretty solid one there. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode, what you thought of Diggle's Green Arrow, Olicity, and the use of William to actually advance Olicity. Let me know as well if you liked this video by slapping it a much appreciated like, and while you're at it, you can always subscribe and enable notifications as well. But until I see you next time, thank you all for watching and have a good one.